According to NBCNews.com, 64% of Americans in the United States believe that racism is an ongoing issue. That is nearly 200 million Americans that believe that racism is an issue in the United States that needs to be addressed. Today, we will be examining the problem of racism within the United States. We will also be examining the different types of racism found within the United States, and then look at possible ways to address racism within the United States. We will also be discussing the benefits of taking action and the cost of not taking action against racism within the United States. To begin with, what is racism? According to Oxford.com, racism is a prejudice or discrimination directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's race is superior. According to DitaJones.com, there are 4 main types of racism. The first kind is interpersonal racism. This is what most people think of when they hear the word racism. It is the use of slurs and actively discriminating against certain race groups. The second kind of racism is individual racism. This is when people believe in false stereotypes about certain races. The third kind of racism is institutional racism. This occurs when racial injustices are expressed through social and political institutes like media, government, and entertainment outlets. The fourth type of racism is cultural racism. This is the racism that occurs when society creates standards for beauty, art, culture, and etc. that have been decided by white, straight males for the past century. Today, we will be focusing on institutional racism because it is the most prevalent and detrimental to that in the United States. An example of institutional racism is when movies depict minorities as criminals or give them less important roles than their white counterparts, even though they might be equally as qualified. Racial profiling, or the act of law enforcement agents pulling over people strictly because of their race, also has to do with institutional racism. According to American.org, 30% of the United States population consists of people of color, while 60% of the U.S. prison population consists of people of color, despite the fact that both whites and minorities are doing crimes at the same rate. These numbers clearly do not add up, and it makes it extremely apparent that there is some kind of underlying issue going on here. However, when we look at how certain races are portrayed in news, media, and entertainment, we see that there is a correlation. Minorities in movies are almost always portrayed as the anti-hero, criminals, or supporting roles, while whites are always usually the main role and are always portrayed as a good guy or hero. Things like this subconsciously feed into our subconscious opinions of what type of people do what and what type of stereotypes are true of what race. A simple and effective way to prevent racism from further spreading is by simply being aware when consuming media such as TV, movies, and news that despite something is depicted on the screen does not mean it is true in real life. The benefits of taking action against racism in the United States is that the U.S. would be a safer, more unified place, which is especially important given today's political climate. To risk not taking action would be condoning racism and hateful acts towards people who do not deserve it. Not taking action would also further divide the U.S. as to where we stand today. We would also be pushing out the heterogeneous nature of the U.S., which makes the U.S. such a beautiful and inviting place. Today, we can help end racism by just simply being aware. Thank you.